The day I married my best friend's widow, I felt like the world was watching me with silent judgment. Some people called it noble. Others whispered that it was strange, even suspicious. But none of them knew the truth. None of them knew the promise I had made beside a hospital bed, while the machines around my best friend slowly went quiet. And none of them knew that the little girl standing between us that day was the only reason I said yes. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet sacrifices people make for those they love, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the most unexpected choices can change lives forever. It had been almost a year since the accident that took Daniel's life. One rainy evening, a truck ran a red light and smashed into his car. The news arrived like a thunderclap that split our lives in half. Daniel wasn't just my best friend, he was the kind of man who made every room warmer when he walked into it. We had grown up together, survived school together, and built our adult lives side by side. Losing him felt like losing a piece of myself. But Daniel didn't leave the world completely empty. He left behind Emma, his 5-year-old daughter, and Laura, the woman he loved more than anything. After the funeral, people slowly returned to their routines, but Laura's world had collapsed completely. I visited whenever I could, bringing groceries, helping fix small things around the house, and trying to make Emma smile the way her father used to. At first, I told myself I was just honoring my friend. But over time, I realized I was also trying to fill a silence that had settled heavily over their home. Laura had always been strong, but grief changes people. The confident woman I once knew now looked exhausted, like she was carrying the weight of the world alone. Bills piled up. Work became difficult. Every corner of the house reminded her of the life she had lost. One night, nearly 8 months after Daniel's death, she broke down while Emma slept upstairs. It wasn't loud crying. It was the quiet kind that slips out when someone has run out of strength. That was the night everything changed. A few weeks later, Laura told me something that left me stunned. Daniel's family had been pressuring her to move away and let them take Emma in. They believed Laura couldn't raise her alone. Financial problems were growing, and lawyers had started getting involved. Emma might be taken away. The thought of Daniel's daughter growing up far from the home her father built crushed me. I remembered the promise I made beside his hospital bed, when he squeezed my hand with what little strength he had left. Take care of them. At the time, I thought it meant visiting often, helping when needed. I never imagined it would mean what came next. One evening, Laura sat across from me at the kitchen table with tired eyes and a trembling voice. The situation had become worse, and she felt like the ground was disappearing beneath her feet. Then she said something that sounded almost impossible. She asked if I would marry her. It wasn't romantic. There were no flowers or hopeful smiles. It was simply a desperate solution to a painful problem. Marriage would stabilize things legally and financially. It would protect Emma from being taken away. For a long time, I couldn't speak. Marrying the widow of my best friend felt like crossing a line I never thought about. But when I looked at Emma playing quietly in the living room, holding the stuffed rabbit her father had given her, the decision suddenly felt simple. I said yes. The wedding itself was small and quiet. No celebration, no music, just a few signatures in a courthouse office. Emma stood between us holding both our hands, smiling like something good had happened even though she didn't fully understand what. Life after that was strange at first. Laura and I were two people tied together by circumstances rather than love. We shared the same house but lived like careful roommates, both respecting the invisible space between us. But Emma changed everything. She woke up early every morning with endless energy, dragging us into the chaos of childhood laughter, school lunches, and bedtime stories. Slowly, the house began to feel alive again. At first, Emma called me uncle. That's what I had always been. But one evening after I helped her with a school project, she looked up and said something that made my chest tighten. She asked if it would be okay to call me Dad. I didn't know what to say. I told her she could call me whatever made her happy. But inside, I felt the enormous weight of what that meant. I was stepping into a role that belonged to someone else. The months passed quietly. Laura began to smile again. Emma thrived in school. And I found myself slowly building a routine that felt more natural than I expected. Yet there was always something unspoken between Laura and me. We had married for a reason, but we never talked about what came after survival. Then, one evening nearly a year after our wedding, something unexpected happened. Emma had fallen asleep on the couch after watching a movie, and Laura and I sat quietly in the dim light of the living room. For a long time, neither of us spoke. But when she finally looked at me, there were tears in her eyes. Not tears of sadness. Something else. She told me something I never imagined hearing. She said that somewhere along the way, the marriage that started as a solution had become something real. She didn't know when it happened, but the house didn't feel empty anymore. The quiet dinners, the shared responsibilities, the way we both cared for Emma, it had slowly turned into something deeper. She said she trusted me more than anyone else in the world. And then she said something that completely changed everything. Daniel had known. Before he died, during the final weeks when doctors had given him little hope, he had talked to Laura about the future. He knew she would struggle without him, and he knew Emma would need someone strong and kind beside her. He had mentioned my name. Not as a replacement. Never that. But as someone he trusted completely. Laura told me Daniel once said that if anything ever happened to him, I was the only person he would trust to protect his family. Hearing that felt like the ground shifted beneath my feet. All this time, I thought I had stepped into their lives by chance. I thought the decision to marry Laura had been born out of desperation. But maybe it was something else. Maybe it was something Daniel himself had quietly hoped for. For the first time since his death, I felt something close to peace instead of guilt. Life after that conversation changed in subtle ways. The tension between Laura and me faded. Our conversations grew warmer, our laughter more natural. The home that once felt like a place of grief slowly became a place of belonging. Emma, of course, noticed it first. Children often see things adults try to hide. One day she drew a picture at school of the three of us standing together under a bright yellow sun. When she brought it home, she proudly placed it on the refrigerator like it was a masterpiece. Underneath the drawing, she had written 3 simple words in careful, uneven letters. My family. That was the moment I realized something powerful. The marriage I once thought was temporary had quietly become permanent in the most important ways. Years later, people still ask about our story. Some expect something dramatic or scandalous. But the truth is much simpler. Sometimes love doesn't begin with fireworks or perfect timing. Sometimes it begins with loss, responsibility, and a promise made in a hospital room. And sometimes the most unexpected choices lead to the kind of life you never thought you deserved. Before we reach the end of this story, I want to ask something special. If you've ever experienced a moment where kindness changed the direction of your life, write "Kindness Matters" in the comments below. It's amazing to see how many people believe in the power of compassion. Looking back now, I don't see my decision as a sacrifice anymore. I see it as a gift. Because the truth is, I didn't just save Emma's home that day. Emma and Laura saved me too. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe for more stories that remind us how powerful simple acts of kindness can be. Because sometimes the family we never expected becomes the one we were meant to have all along.